Thank you very much indeed, Phil. Can you hear me okay? And can you see our slide?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Excellent. My computer's being a bit laggy. So anyway, let's get cracking. So thank you. I am Chris Morison, Copyright Licensing Policy Manager at University of Kent. Jane?
Hiya everyone, good afternoon, Jane Secker. I'm a Senior Lecturer in Educational Development at City University of London. Delighted to be here.
We are indeed. So Jane, you're going to kick us off. Copyright and online learning. What's this all about?
For some people, like Chris and I, we've been thinking about copyright and online learning for more than 10 years. First published copyright and e-learning in, oh, blimey, that's taken me back a bit. 2010, I think that was.
It was still this century, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Second edition, Chris and I worked together on. That came out in 2016, and I have to say, I think prior to the pandemic, it's fair to say it was a pretty niche topic. It wasn't exactly top of the Amazon bestseller list. So, yeah.
And so we run the blog copyrightliteracy.org, where we share all our research, all our ideas, guest posts, resources, all the things we do around copyright. We've been doing this for a few years now. So yes, we do have some consistent branding. We'll talk more about the t-shirts we're wearing now in a moment. They are available to purchase from the Alt web store. Right, okay. But copyright literacy, what is it? We defined it as acquiring and demonstrating the appropriate knowledge, skills and behaviours to enable the ethical creation and use of copyright material. So it's not just learning facts about the law. It's not being a lawyer as such. It's about understanding how copyright law fits into your context and your practice and working out how that actually allows appropriate behaviours. And for us, really, we're in this education research space. That's where it really kind of works for us. We have a playful approach to copyright. Some of you may be aware that we've created games around copyright.
Sorry, I've got the cat.
You've got the cat, excellent. Copyright the card game, the publishing trap that I was playing this morning at Kent with our research students. We've created an event called IcePops, the International Copyright Literacy Event, with playful opportunities for practitioners and scholars. We've held 2 very successful face-to-face events and 1 online one last year, and we're hoping to go back face-to-face this year, crossing our fingers. So Jane's sharing the links to those. So yeah, what happened when the pandemic struck?
Yeah, so in March 2020, just before the lockdown, one of the things Chris and I talked about was the sort of shift to online learning being, you know, something that many people might need to sort of start thinking about copyright issues for the first time. So we looked to make quite a few chapters actually from the book available on open access, but primarily we decided to write a blog post that would just really tell people the kind of key things that you need to know if you're worried, concerned in any way about how copyright works when you're teaching online. So that post went out on about the 18th of March. And that led to really, I guess, a sort of series of events that we later turned into a whole kind of webinar program.
A series of fortunate events, wasn't it, really?
Absolutely. One of the things we wanted to do, no, go on to the next
I'll
slide.
do that slide. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's fine. One of the things we wanted to highlight was all about licenses that were available in an educational context that might be able to help provide access to content. So whether it was through electronic resources, ebooks, the CLA license that could be used to digitize content, getting permission, which we can say a bit about if people are interested in, not always as easy as you'd think, the ERA license for audiovisual content, and obviously then thinking about content licensed under Creative Commons. But what we also wanted to do was highlight copyright exceptions. So really important, copyright exceptions are where you have the legal right to use something, but without the permission of the rights holder. There are many of them. We actually have a periodic table of them on a t-shirt, don't we, Chris, somewhere? But the most important ones in higher education or in teaching are called illustration for instruction, quotation, and several others.
Parody and pastiche, for example, is one that you might use. For example, if you wanted to create a composite film piece to create a Martian attack kite feature, you might want to use pre-existing copyright content, and you might therefore argue that that's parody caricature pastiche aligned with illustration for instruction.
But primarily what we were trying to do, I guess, was kind of remind people, maybe for the first time, some people, letting them know about how copyright exceptions and how licenses would help with providing content. Chris, you want to tell us a bit about the webinars?
Yeah, so we did one webinar. You were kind of nagging me a bit to let's do this thing, let's write this post. Oh, okay, well, this is all a bit depressing, isn't it? Let's get everyone together and actually say what is happening. Shall we share some of our things that we're thinking about? We're all locked down, libraries are shut, teaching's going online. What do we do? So we thought, well, we'll join up with ALT, the Association for Learning Technology. We'd already done a session a few months before the end of the previous year, 2019. So we did that. We used their Blackboard Collaborate room, and then it became a weekly thing. It was really the whole of the HE copyright community, so checking in. What's the latest? Are we all okay? What are the other things that's happening? And then that turned into quite a big thing, didn't it? So we've, I'm not sure where that random three's come from. Nice updating at the side there, Jay. I'm glad that I gave you that job. So yeah, have we actually got 1,000 page views now?
No, we've got 10,003 this morning on our webinar
page views. Okay.
On our webinar page. We've run 46 webinars since March 2020. We have webinar 47 coming up this coming Friday if you want to see what goes on at these sessions. We tend to have around about 60 people, depends on the topic. Sometimes we actually do get over 100 people. What we've also seen, or we saw in 2020, was a real growth in the number of posts on the closed discussion list. So if you want to talk about copyright, there is a closed discussion list for those of us in education called List CopySeek. Chris and I are the list managers of it. And we saw double the number of queries in 2020 as we've seen any other year prior or since, actually. But also, the list has grown quite substantially as well. Believe it or not, there are 649 people that want to talk about copyright issues on our list. So yeah, it's a big community that is out there.
So here's a flavour of what happens in the webinars. We've got some photos, things we were sharing just to keep our spirits up. We'll play the theme tune. I'm going to do it now. Here we go.
That's probably enough.
It's not legal advice, but it will have to suffice because it's copyright waffle, copyright waffle, copyright waffle. All right.
So that's the theme tune, originally from our podcast series. Yes, we had lots of guest presentations, really interesting people. Bridget from Creative Commons, Kyle, he's a legend from Harvard University, the copyright advisor. Emily Hudson has really given us some incredibly valuable insights. She's an IP scholar from King's College London, has done a lot of work around copyright at the time of the pandemic. Karis Craig and Bob Tarantino, Canada, giving us a real reflection on how creative activity has moved, cultural participation has moved online, and how copyright gets in the way of that, with really insightful things. We've had lots of rights holder and other organizations coming and telling us updates of what they're trying to do to help with the pandemic. So it came the real focal point. Yes, we do. I can do a jingle to order, Phil. Just let's have a chat. Come on, you got my number.
I think the other thing to say is we have done some evaluation recently on the impact of these webinars. And although the previous slide with the silly jingle and the photos and things, you know, one of the things is like that we want also people to come along and feel part of a community and to help, particularly in 2020, we were using the webinars as a way of making people feel a bit better, I think, about what was a pretty miserable time all round. And the feedback did show that was the impact that we've had. So
absolutely. So some of the issues that came up, the issues of substance, Jen and I ended up writing this post for Wonky where we felt that the pandemic was really bringing these things to the fore. They were already existing, some issues, and now we were forced to address them because everyone was forced to use technology and to do things remotely. So some of the key things that this picked up: film and audiovisual work, teaching with those. Now, there's provisions in the law that allow you to show a film or a video on the premises of an educational establishment. But how does that work in an online context. Quite a difficult one. There's no single body that you would go to get a collective license for that. And then the move from physical to streaming media, and that was an area we discussed quite a lot, and there's been quite a lot of work in that, and Emily Hudson's produced some really helpful academic analysis that's then helped us as institutions work through those questions. Ebook licensing very much came to the fore. If you've seen this academic ebook investigation, so 3 academic librarians have really been pushing this to show the abusive market practices by many publishers. They don't want to sell to libraries, they want to sell to individual students, and that creates an issue. Previously it would work because they were buying print copies, libraries had print copies. Now that was disrupted, so that became a focal point, and then that led to really a focus on open educational practices.
Yeah, so I think one of the kind of issues really that have really come to the forefront is about textbooks and that type of content. And I think, you know, in the States we've seen a movement towards open textbooks for a number of years. It's been very, very slow to be adopted in the UK. And I think what we are starting to see is a growing interest in, once again, it's not to say there hasn't been in the past, particularly in the learning technology community, about open educational resources, but also increasingly universities looking to invest in open textbook platforms. And, you know, I think licensing of the guidance and the support. We've just put Creative Commons on all our educational technology guidance at City University. And, you know, I think it's something where we really want, you know, to spread the word about open licensing.
So it's great that we've been able to talk about these issues, but what's actually happening at our own institutions? Well, in that time, one thing I was very, very pleased to have done was actually publish a copyright literacy strategy at Kent, which members of our e-learning team were absolutely inputting into, academics, professional services colleagues, and we created this thing that was really to help work through at an institutional level some of these really difficult questions. And so we've got this statement that by 2025 people working and studying at the university will feel confident in making informed decisions about using copyright material and will understand the role copyright plays in innovation and creation of new knowledge. So it's all about underpinning this university strategy, and some of those things are about questioning assumptions, things that we thought couldn't be done before, and now we're forced to do it. Actually, this has been really helpful as a way of steering us and working through some of those issues we saw before. But policy is only one thing, and of course teaching people and teaching the teachers is an also very important part as well, isn't it, Jane?
Yeah, so I've been running the module Digital Literacies and Open Practice, which I've been teaching this year with Julie Vos, our head of digital education at City, who's now a lecturer on our Masters in Academic Practice with me. We've been teaching this module now for 4 years, but I've seen particularly during the pandemic a huge growth in the numbers wanting to come on the course. I think issues to do with digital literacy, whether students are or quite definitely are not digital natives, really sort of the kinds of things people want to talk about, but also copyright and open access, open licensing is a really important part of this module, and something that I've seen, you know, a really deep engagement with on, you know, the people that come on the course. It really does seem to change the way they thought about things previously. So 1 minute remaining.
We're going to have to move on, I'm afraid. Before Phil comes and calls you, we're going to say we started a special interest group. Oh, that's what the T-shirts are about. They're backing us. There's a group of us that care about copyright and online learning. And then there's a plug for Fair Dealing Week. This is happening next week. Fair dealing, copyright exceptions. What is fair? What isn't? We're exploring that. There's an event at Kent on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, but the launch event is at the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies on Monday, and we've got a link there. Carl Courtney's joining us from Harvard. It's going to be amazing. Copyright is where the action is at, people. Come and join us. Seriously.
You can bring us, Chris.
Yeah.
That's us. That's our website. And yeah, we'd love to talk more. And yeah, Dustin, if you want to hear more about the module, if we've got time, I'll answer a quick question. But
don't talk about your module. This is the copyright bit. Otherwise, I'll just get bored.
But thank you, everybody. Yeah, thanks a lot.
I'm so sorry to stop you. Wow, that was a fantastic talk, and yeah, you two make one heck of a team. Yeah, you can tell you both been...
Always have your credits, always attribution when it comes to copyright, and there's some further reading for you because I know you want to read more about it. But thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. We don't have time for questions as we have to move on to the next talk. However, if you do have any questions for Chris or for Jane, please stick them in the chat, and I know that they're going to get back to you. Paul's saying you need to lie down.
This is what copyright does to you.
This is what we do every week. Join us on Friday. We're going to stop now, Phil. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think Chris and Jane need an energy bar. It's fine. It's yeah, but no, thank you.